Imagine this scenario. You have your first business and the product is ready. Now what comes is the marketing. Content and ads are created and you're just waiting for the money. And as time passes, you have zero sale and you don't understand what happened. You are thinking about the content, you are thinking about the niche, the market, or even the product, when the only problem is that you cannot persuade. Now you want to give up and go to the next business model and the next thing, when what you need to do is learn one skill. Persuasion is the skill that differentiates the unsuccessful from the successful. Isn't persuasion manipulation, you might ask? No. Persuasion is not manipulation, it's an influence on a person in a positive direction. If I persuade you to lose weight, that's positive. Did your phone ever help you in any bad situation, like help you navigate from a city that you don't know, or help you with some emergency, or did it save you from any kind of bad situation? Because phones are the best example for persuasion. The first person didn't want to buy phone. Think about the first person who were buying the phone. He didn't knew what is going to be in the next 50 years of improving the technology continuously, but he bought the phone because he was persuaded, and because he was persuaded the technology could move forward. So if anytime you think persuasion is bad, then just think about the phone example. Persuasion is not about getting people to do what they don't want to do, it's about convincing them to do what they already want to do. Persuasion is not manipulation. The first people who bought the new technology, if they knew that in 50 years what would be the technology, then they would be happy to buy the product, but they didn't know, they were persuaded into buying. In the same fashion, you can start creating a positive impact on the world if you start selling your product with persuasion. Or even how many lives could you change if you would start persuading, like persuading your fat friend or overweight friend to lose weight. How many positive changes would that lead to? They would be more happier, they would have a better future, and even better relationships. Persuasion shouldn't be named a skill, it's an amplifier. It doesn't matter what you do, persuasion is the core aspect of success. Go and persuade your boss for a raise, or go and persuade your girlfriend to stay with you, or go and persuade your friends to be interested in you. Either you are persuading or you are being persuaded. Staying in the same place doesn't exist. Persuasion is required for everyone. As a modern polymath, you need persuasion to thrive in the content industry. The competition is fierce, and if you don't persuade the people to stay on your content, they won't, and they will go to the next one. Persuasion secret. The secret to persuasion is not clear, because I can say that this information here persuades and this information here doesn't persuade. How you can master persuasion is by doing it and constant iteration. But all of the good leaders and persuaders have one thing in common, and that's knowledge. The more you know, the less you need to say. Think about an argument. One side is arguing with very long sentences and doesn't even add more value to its long sentences, just repeating the same thing over and over. And think about the other side, who is saying really short sentences and that's all. These hitter sentences, the banger sentences. Who is going to be more persuasive? Well, I think this one. The person who says short sentences. Those people who can explain a topic with short sentences shows a level of competence. You know that these people know what they are talking about and they are not here for attention. That's also what I named the impact amplifier. The more information, skills and knowledge you acquire, the bigger your impact will be, either in content, in your work or writing. And it's exponential. If we could create a straight line out of your knowledge, it would be the radius of the impact you have. So if hypothetically you have a knowledge of 10, then your impact area is 310. While if you have an 11 knowledge, the impact area is 380. By having more knowledge and more in-depth understanding, the impact you have with your words significantly increases. Leaders don't dance around that point they're trying to get across. If you want to persuade by telling too much, the other person loses interest, but if you tell too less, then they don't gain interest. So there is a perfect balance that you need to get in the middle. This is the same principle in storytelling. I have a video already about that, you can check it out. In storytelling, if you say too much, they don't care, and if you say too less, they don't care. So you need to find the perfect balance to constantly open curiosity loops. Everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. Personally, the skill that needs this perfect balance. You need to make it as simple as possible, but not simpler. If you make it too simple, people will feel they are stupid. If it's too complicated, they don't understand it. Your job is to learn persuasion. It amplifies your work, your writing, your talking, every single thing in your life. It amplifies. Not learning it is like not really caring about how you perform in life. How to persuade. One sentence persuasion. One sentence persuasion is created by Blair Warren. This is the guy who studied in all of his life persuasion. This sentence sounds like this: people will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicion, and help them throw rock at their enemy. I already talked about this in the attention grabbing hooks video. You can check it out. This is the thumbnail. It's explained in depth and you can get a much better understanding there. Second, core elements. Persuasion requires knowledge and understanding. If I don't know your pains, then I can't persuade you into buying my product. Persuasion only happens if I understand the product as much as I understand the target audience. There are two elements which are required for persuasion. Goals. Humans are goal-driven machines. You need to understand their goal so you know where they are going. And if you have them, you can persuade them through emotional appeal and reasoning. It's like moving them out from their current state with presenting how they can achieve their goal. But if you don't know what's their goal, you can't move them out from here. Second, problems. If there is no problem, people don't buy. For example, if you're hungry, you will buy a sandwich. But if you are not, you won't. Solving a painful problem is what moves people to buy. This is one of the core sections in Self-Architect. You must know it correctly, otherwise you won't make money. You need to understand the problem clearly and precisely from their perspective. Not what is the problem, but what is their problem in their life. How does that affect them? By understanding that, you can write copy that gets them out from that state and they move to buying the product. This is basically some core principles of selling. Russell Brunson talks about this in if you want to sell, you need to move people away from pain or move people to pleasure. Persuasion pyramid. Barbarinto created this type of persuasion technique. It's about having an argument, then backing that up with reasons, and then backing that up with facts and data. For instance, we can pick a topic like, should you learn storytelling? Then the reasons could be, yes, because humans understand the world through stories. Yes, because whenever you talk, you are expressing your ideas through stories. Yes, because with storytelling you can change how people think, act and behave. That could help. Then I can back that up with some facts. Stories are up to 22 times more memorable than facts alone. 75% of the time when you speak, you talk about people. The human mind is hardwired through evolution to understand stories. A research with two groups. First listened to facts, second listened to stories. Then both gave money to charity. Those who listened to the stories gave significantly more. Research shows that your body generates more hormones like oxytocin, dopamine and cortisol when listening to stories. Research also shows that the brainwaves of the story listener will synchronize with the brainwave of the storyteller. I think I saw you on learning storytelling. Am I right? I have a video about it, you can check that out. And this is how persuasion pyramid works. And as you've seen it, it's working correctly. Weapons of influence. A psychologist spent his time analyzing persuasion and its secrets, and he was able to analyze and dissect 6 different weapons of influence. These are the weapons that others can use to influence our brain, and we don't know about it. We have automations, and Robert, who is the psychologist, said that we have so much information flowing through our brain that our brain cannot process every information. So what this means is that our mind created automations, so if an information comes, it starts an automation. The interesting part is that the start of this automation, which starts from a trigger, is not a big thing, it's a really tiny aspect. This is why Robert called it the trigger feature. And there's loads of examples in the animal kingdom. I'm going to tell you one. For example, a turkey takes care of its baby if it says a chirp chirp sound. What the research group did is that they created a stuffed ferret, and the ferret is the enemy of the turkey, and they placed it near the turkey. The turkey immediately attacked it, but what happened is that in this toy ferret there was a small sound device that emitted this sound, which was the chirp chirp sound, which its baby gave. Immediately sounding like its baby, the turkey started caring about the ferret, which is its enemy, just like its own baby. So for the turkey, the trigger is the chirp chirp sound, and the automation is taking care of its baby. It doesn't matter when it's a different kind of animal, it has the same sound, so it does the same thing. And as humans, we have loads of similar automations which you don't know about. Let's go through them and understand them more in depth. Firstly, reciprocity. If you are given a gift, we feel indebted to return the favor. Research shows that if a waitress gives you a mint, a little small candy, then you're going to give more tips. And this study was done in 3 different groups. The first group gave 1 mint and had 4% increase in the amount of tip. The second group gave 2 mints and had the 14% increase in the amount of tip. While the third group came to the table, gave 1 mint, turned around and started leaving the table, then turned back and said that I'm going to give you 1 more because you're kind people. and gave one more mint. Then the increase was 34%. These people weren't acting consciously. They weren't thinking, oh, I should give more tips for the mint. No, this is an automation that started from the mint. I get a gift, then I want to return the favor. And this reciprocity, you can use it for yourself. People give a lead magnet and they get an email. Or there is the reciprocity concession. If having one big ask, after that you go to a smaller one. And if you as the person who asks goes to a smaller one and you decline from the bigger version, the other person will feel that, oh, I feel indebted to your ask because you went from a bigger one to a smaller one. This decreasement creates an indebtedness in the person. For example, on a sales call, you can say that it's actually $2,000, but I will sell it to you for $1,000 only. That creates this reciprocity that the person decreased the price, then I'm going to say yeah. Second, liking. People are more likely to perform an action from those people who they like. But liking has some conditions. We like people who are similar to us, we like people who cooperate with us, and we like people who give us compliments. There was a research done where two groups of college students had to send emails to business owners. The first group was told that time is money, so be fast and quick and just that. The second group was told that firstly talk about yourself or some interest you have and then start asking. The first group had a 50% agreement and the second group a 90% agreement, because the business owners could relate and like that person because they were familiar. So by creating this rapport, you can more easily create a bond between the two people. And there's this interesting thing, which is those people who are physically attractive usually get more in whatever industry, in whatever region in life. They even get less prison sentence because they are more attractive. Because the people who decide on them like them because they look good, male, female, doesn't matter. And this physical attractiveness starts this automation. Third, scarcity. Just really simply, it's the fear of missing out. Why scarcity works is that you don't want to lose the opportunity, because if you lose an opportunity, you will lose freedom. People would rather pay for something if they knew they can get it later on. Because they lose this freedom, they will rather pay for it right now. Scarcity is a really simple but powerful method to get people to buy from you, only if it's ethical. Fourth, authority. We trust authoritarian figures. Now that wouldn't be a problem if we would decide who is an authority based on knowledge. The reality is that we don't trust the authority people, but we trust people with figures of authority. There's a research done where a young guy just like me went out to the streets and asked people to do or perform a favor. When he was just normally with clothes like this, he got a 54% agreement rate. But another time he went out to the streets in a security suit, so he looked like these security people, and then he got a 97% agreement rate just by simply changing the clothes. People don't trust the figures, but they trust those who look like the figures. This is a really big problem, because there are people who trust doctors on the internet because they look like doctors, or they trust salesmen, or they trust these scammers. You have to watch out for the signals that create authority, and these are the clothes, the titles, and names. If you're not aware of this, they will use their authority to manipulate you. Fifth, commitment. People are consistent with their previous decisions and actions. It works when people agree with a small commitment first, then the bigger one. Research showed that 4 times the people were agreed to put out a sign on their yard which said drive safely if 10 days earlier someone knocked on their door and asked if they are willing to put out a drive safely postcard in the window. The drive safely postcard, which is a small commitment, led to a decision that they support this drive safely cause, and from that, the next time these people came to ask whether they would put out a sign, they would say yes, because that was the next ask, the bigger commitment, and before they have already said a yes to this type of commitment. Sixth, social proof. People act how others behave. If you are walking down the street and if randomly 20 people would turn around the corner and start running and screaming that something is coming, you don't know what, you would start running too. It's not a question. Social proof works in the condition of uncertainty. If you're uncertain, you will look everywhere to get an answer on what to do. On sales pages, you can see a lot of social proof, that is the testimonials, and you think that if they have bought it and they had a great experience, and I'm going to buy it as well. These are the 6 weapons of influence understood and analyzed by Robert, and using them ethically, you can persuade others easily. No one can go against these tactics because these are hardwired in us. In speech, in writing, in sales, if you learn to implement them, you're going to get the most results. This was the video about persuasion. I hope you're alright. Check out Self-Architect and Singularity, link down below, and I will see you next time.